For this video, I'm going to take you on a tour of the Florida Historic Capitol Museum located in Tallahassee, Florida. Here we go once again with another ironic video. I've now visited a couple presidential libraries and several museums that focused on political history, and they're all being reviewed by someone who has no interest whatsoever in politics. I am 100% apolitical. I can't stand this stuff. But at the end of the day, these are genuine tourist attractions, so I'm still going to film and review it, but it's all Greek to me. I'm completely repulsed by all politicians. But again, I can go to a Minuteman museum or ICBM or a nuclear reactor museum, and I don't need to know how the nuclear explosion works. It doesn't matter to me. And that complete indifference, I guess, suits me well, because I don't really have any skin in the game, and, I can go to these places and not trigger anyone. So let's talk about this building. This building was the historic capital of the state of Florida, and they have restored the building to its appearance circa 1902. It's got a really impressive stained glass dome, which you first see when you enter the building. It's a very large museum. I mean, there's 2 floors and 21 different rooms full of all kinds of different artifacts. The other nice perk is there's no admission fee. This is actually operated, I believe, by the state of Florida. The highlight of this particular museum is all the replicas of the different offices of the governor, the House of Representative and Senate and Supreme Court chambers, and they've all been restored to 1902 standards. As you first enter the museum, there's a little theater off to the right-hand side, and that's where you'll watch about a 20-minute video on the history of the building and, the political history of Florida. It's a typical documentary, the ones that you slept through growing up in social studies classes. They were originally planning to knock this building down, and it is located near the current, much larger and more modern state capitol building. But there was a lot of public outcry when they were kind of discussing the demolition plan, so they ended up saving it. And it is a really solid building, I'll give them that. The architecture is pretty nice and unique. I mean, the biggest problem that I have with this particular museum is it honors failure. This museum is actually funny to me because it's like a highlight reel for ineptitude. Late night comics always make fun of the state of Florida, and even the History Museum is kind of secretly making fun of it. There's an entire room in this museum dedicated to the 2000 presidential election. The one that the state of Florida completely botched counting the ballots, and it ended up going to the Supreme Court because they couldn't tabulate an accurate result. They've got exhibits regarding the massacres in Rosewood and Ocoee. Crazy to me that local law enforcement just sat on their hands for those situations and let over 200 people get murdered overnight. You've got the huge exhibit for the Cross Florida Barge Canal. They spent 2 decades building it, billions of dollars invested. And then when they were about 80% done, they said, yeah, never mind. But that just kind of shows you the absolute incompetence of our state government. They never plan things through, and they never think things through. I mean, we are the urban sprawl capital of the world. This isn't even some sort of rant of mine. This is the nature of this particular museum. Almost every room is dedicated to something the state of Florida botched. I don't think there's a single thing that's actually positive in here. I really don't. I couldn't find it. There's even some exhibits in here about all the Civil War monuments they started building in like the 50s and 60s and 70s, that lost cause, which itself was a bunch of Southerners trying to rationalize and sugarcoat all the misdeeds of the Civil War. I realize this building used to be the former state capitol, but at the end of the day, politics is a dumb basis for a museum. Speaking of which, if you're looking for a better museum, there's the Museum of Florida History, which is located in the R.A. Gray building that's nearby, and it's just a lot better than this particular museum. That museum is just a lot more broad in its appeal. It's got exhibits for transportation and Indian history and antiquities and natural history, environmental protection. I just found this old Capitol Museum very boring, and I remember the Florida History Museum just being a lot more compelling, and I think I spent twice as much time down there just because there was just a lot more to see and do. I found this old Capitol Museum far too repetitive in its exhibits, and I mean, I can't imagine how anyone can get excited about seeing a bunch of desks, because there's probably like 250 desks in this museum, and it's a museum of desks. I mean, office furniture. I mean, come on. How can you get excited about office furniture? So what's the bottom line for this particular museum? Meh, it's okay. I mean, it's got free admission and it's air conditioned, but I don't think it's worth any kind of significant drive. Not unless you got like somebody who is really into political science in your family. I was certainly bored with this one. I mean, I spent maybe an hour here. I would imagine most kids would be bored with it too. This attraction definitely feels like a place teachers would drag students to on a field trip. This museum is located pretty close to downtown Tallahassee, and there's a lot of great restaurants in downtown. The biggest highlight for me coming here was certainly the meal that followed it. I would imagine most people would have a similar reaction to visiting it, which is precisely why I don't recommend this particular attraction. Well, those are all my thoughts on the Florida Historic Capitol Museum. To wrap up this video, I'm just going to play a little music.
I can feel it somewhere inside, haunting like a drug I keep on wanting. There's a love that fits so perfect it's hard to believe. There's a reason I can feel my heart stop beating, and the air gets tough just breathing. I'm alone but I'm still feeling like someone's with me. It's strange, I know, but I feel like you're here with me, like chasing ghosts. I know you're out there. Time is unfair, 'cause I know you're out there somewhere, patient, waiting unaware, feeling like your grip might slip too soon, but I'm running, chasing speed.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Adventure Schmuck. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See everyone next week.